done for me. Who brings our chaos? Who brings our chaos back into order? Who makes the orphan a son and daughter? The King of glory, the King of glory, who rules the nations with truth and justice, shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, you would lay down your life, that I would be set free. Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, you would lay down your life, that I would be set free. Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Let's praise him this morning. We're glad you're here.
Good morning, and welcome to the Rivers online worship experience. My name is Dean Ward, and I'm the lead pastor of the River Church. Now you may be saying, Pastor Dean, where are you? Here I am! I had to do that. We have a grandchild in our lives. And the other day I asked, "Where's Nora?" And she's like this. He goes, "Here she is." I'm sorry. I digress. My name is Dean Ward. I am the lead pastor of the River Church, and I am so grateful that you have chosen to join in with us here today. Hey, I want to invite you to take a minute and just share this with anyone that you can on your social media. Every Sunday, I invite as many people as I can to join in with this. I also copy the YouTube link at the River New Ken channel on YouTube, the River New Ken, just search that. I copy that link to the message and I post it on my Facebook and invite as many people as possible to join in with us here. Now, you may be looking at me and say, "Pastor Dean, I've never seen you with a clerical collar before." Well, let me just tell you a little story as we begin. So, a number of years ago, my friend was an Episcopal minister, and he wore the cleric collar everywhere he went. And he said, "Dean," he said, "do you have any idea how powerful this collar is when you go into hospitals?" And I'm like, "No, what do you mean?" He goes, when you're a minister and you go into hospital and you have a clerical collar on like this, it makes all the difference in the world." And I didn't know what he meant because I never wore a collar like this. So I did notice that during the pandemic and afterwards even, I had trouble accessing a hospital. And so one time last summer, I decided to go to the hospital wearing my black shirt, my black pants, my black shoes, and I decided to take a piece of paper and fold it and put it under my collar and just test out his theory that you're treated differently when you have a clerical collar. And oh my, it was a completely different experience. People were like so helpful. "Reverend, how can I help you?" "Father, what do you need?" How can I help you now?" I'm a minister in a faith tradition that doesn't wear these collars as part of the regular expression, but I just made the decision when I'm going to the hospital, I'm doing this because it opens doors easily, quickly. There are no questions asked, and I'm a minister. And so if I'm freaking you out today, and Matt's going to get a picture to post on Facebook that you'll have to wait till Sunday. If you're wondering while I'm wearing this collar, like now, if he could, try to get him to you can lead a horse to water. But if the collar messes you up, bothers you, don't worry. We'll take it off in just a moment after we get this photograph, after this picture is taken. So this week, I had 2 parishioners that had big-time surgeries on their back and spine in 2 different hospitals, one on Tuesday and one on Friday. And I forgot on Tuesday, didn't really have any issues, but for fun, I decided to wear it today at a hospital I'd never been to before, and it was very helpful. So if the collar is kind of bothering you, don't worry. It's just a 3x5 card trimmed down to fit under my collar there. And now we're back at it. Sorry. It is rather hot, though. I am filming in a black outfit in the sun. I should have thought that through a little bit, but thank you for letting me share that with you. And if you need me to visit you in the hospital, you can text me and just let me know if you want or do not want the clerical collar. Can we do that? All right, good deal. So today I want to just ask you a question. What, if you know this, what is unique about the Monongahela River in Pittsburgh? Or the Monongahela River that ends in Pittsburgh. What's unique about it? Well, yeah, that. Yeah, also that. I was looking online, and it hauls more freight and more material up and down the river on barges than any river around. It's completely navigable with the lock and dam system. But one of the most unique things I ever heard about the Monongahela River is that it's one of 2 rivers on the entire planet that literally flows north. Now, I was told this, and do you want to take a guess to what the other river is? Well, no, not that one. That's saying don't do that. Okay. The River Nile flows north. So when I was ready to open with this, I thought I better fact check all this on Google. And in fact, there are more than 2 rivers that flow north in the entire world. Do you know how many rivers flow north? Over 250 of them. So if you have ever said, well, the Monongahela is unique because it's one of 2 that flow north, well, no, it's one of 250. Maybe the person telling you just forgot to leave off the 150 and just said it's one of 2. No, it's one of 250. There's probably even more that flow north. Wow, that's not very unique. That's not very rare. Well, let's put this in perspective. Do you know how many rivers there are in the world? Over 150,000 of them. So if you have 150,000 rivers and only 250 of them flow north, what percentage of rivers flow north? Well, just truth be known, I tried to figure it out in my mind and on my calculator for just about 10 minutes. And then I called my brother at work. My brother's a mathematician for an insurance company, also known as an actuary. He handles numbers day and night. So I asked him, Jim, what percentage of rivers flow north if there's 150,000 rivers and 250 of them flow north? And he did a little calculation. He said, Dean, it's 0.166666%. And I said, you mean like 1.6%? He goes, no. Less than 1%, it's 0.16666%. He said, I'll break that down for you in numbers you can understand, Dean, because I know you're a little slow. If you have 1,000 rivers, less than 2 will flow north. If you have 500 rivers, you're not guaranteed that even 1 will be flowing north. It's a very rare thing indeed. Today, we are in part 2 of our series of messages, just simply called On the Move, God's plan for his people. And we looked last week at how God calls his people to move and how he pushes us not to be comfortable and often relocates his people for his purposes. Well, today's message is just simply called Move Like The Mon. Now, if you don't know what the Mon is, if you're from Western Pennsylvania, it's short for Monongahela, because Monongahela is one of those words that doesn't get said correctly. It gets spelled horrifically wrong all the time. I taught myself how to spell it today, and I think I got it down, Monongahela. I think. Move, but we'll just call it Move Like The Mon. Well, the river, a community church of God, yes, that is our formal legal name. The river, a community church of God, is on the move. And the Lower Burl, the Church of God in Lower Burl, this church that has been here since 1967, it started over 100 years ago in New Kensington and then met in Arnold and then moved here to Lower Burl in 1967. So the river, a community church of God, and the Church of God in Lower Burl are uniting together. We are coming together as one church. And there is so much that I want to say about this process and about all that's happening. There's so much that I want to share with you. But the most important thing in this joining together is that the river must keep the main thing the main thing. You see, it's very easy to get distracted and think about that church is about so many different things. But Jesus tells us that he came for one purpose: to seek and to save those who are lost. And as Jesus lived this mission and gave his life to accomplish this mission, guess what? He passes this mission on to us. In Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 to 20, we are given this mission. It's made very, very crystal clear. Jesus is meeting with his disciples before he ascends to heaven. And these are the last words that Matthew records that Jesus spoke to them. Beginning at verse 16, it says, "Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. And when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, 'All authority in heaven and in earth and on earth has been given to me.'" He's like, I am in charge. I have been given the authority to make this declaration, to give you this commission. I have full authority to give you the mission that is mine. And he says, verse 19, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." Now Jesus is saying, I want you to go and seek and to save those who are lost, because that's my mission. I want you to make disciples, to baptize them, to teach them. And by the way, when that gets a little overwhelming, when that gets a little frightening, when you feel like you're about to take a risk engaging in conversation with someone, hey, just know this: I'm with you. I'm with you always, even until the end of the age. Many churches forget that this is the mission, this is the calling, this is what they are invited to join in the work of Jesus Christ to accomplish. The river is committed to this mission. No matter where we meet, no matter how long we worship, no matter what time our services are, you can rest assured that the number one priority of the river is to accomplish Jesus' mission of seeking and saving those who are lost. And so I want the river to flow like the Mon. I want the river to flow in a direction that other churches aren't. That churches that have forgotten, that have drifted from their mission, that just lost focus. I want to call the river and remind us that this is our sole mission as a church. Now, we say it in different ways. When we started the river, I said the river, a community church of God, exists to help people on their journey back to God. That's my life calling, and that was the mission of the river as it was first stated. Well, how do you do that? How do you help people on their journey back to God? Well, about 10 years ago, we kind of did some work and refined that down a little bit, and we do that by helping people experience, know, and share the love of Jesus. We want every single person that comes in our lives, that comes across the path of the river, that comes into our doors, every single person that we serve, bless, and help. We want them to know, experience, we want them to know the love of Jesus. We want them to come into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ. We want them to know it. We want them to experience it, that transformational love of Christ, through the love that we express to them, through the message that we express to them. And then we want them to know that love and grow in that love. We want them to be disciples of Christ, making disciples. And then we want them to share the love of Jesus. So if you're like, well, what makes the river the river? Our sole goal is to seek and to save those who are lost, to help people on their journey back to God by helping them experience, know, and share the love of Jesus Christ. Everything flows from this vision. Now, I don't know if you've ever memorized a verse when you were younger, and then a newer translation kind of translated it and messed the whole meaning of the verse up to you. This is the case with this verse. When I was a young guy, I memorized Proverbs 29, verse 18 in the King James Version. And it simply says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And I always saw that as when the church loses its vision, people stop getting saved. When people stop being led to a vision higher than themselves, they die in their souls. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But some of the newer translations translate it a little differently. I like the way that Eugene Peterson, in the paraphrase called the Message version of Scripture, the way he writes this verse. He says, if people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. I want you to catch the vision of who the river is and what the river is doing, and what God is doing at and through the river. Struggling with my notes here because I wanted to see the name of the video. I want to invite you to pause right now and allow this 2-minute video to just grab your soul. It's based on the scripture that I just read from Matthew 28, and it's just simply called Go and Make.
And Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make fans, admirers, churchgoers, volunteers, activists? No. Make kids who love their daddy and want to be just like him. Make apprentices who study every move of the master and orient their lives around honing their craft. Make students who hang on every word of the teacher and go practice what they've heard. Show people what Jesus looked like and challenge them to look like him. Train people who ask, what is God saying? And what am I doing about it? Encourage people who look for what God is doing and ask how they can partner with him. Shape people to be those who desperately want to hear the voice of the shepherd. People who are fiercely loyal and relentlessly faithful to follow. Make people who have tasted and seen that the Lord is good, and who are eager to share all they have seen and heard, that their joy may be complete. In the end, it won't matter how many people showed up and sat down on Sundays. All that will matter is how many disciples got up and followed the Master.
Man, when I watched that video, I got so fired up because it calls us back to the mission of the church. And I want the church of God of Lower Borough and the River, a community church of God from New Kensington. I want us to flow like the Mon. I want us to flow in a different direction. I want us to flow in a way that people find Christ. I want to see people baptized. I want to see people saved. I want to see families transformed. And so I want to just share with you some very passionate things that I feel very strongly about. Here goes. The River is committed to being a church for people that are far from God. Because if we're going to seek and to save the lost, we have to be a church that has a laser-like focus, that our goal and mission is to seek and to save the lost. We're a church for people who have given up on church. A church for people who think church is irrelevant, boring, out of touch. In a word, clueless. Do you ever interact with anybody and when they find out that you go to church, they look at you like you're an alien? Well, it's because they think that the church is clueless, that it's totally irrelevant, that it doesn't make a difference in the world or in our lives. And I want to be a church for people that feel that way, because I want to help them see Jesus differently. I want to be a church for people who don't like church. Well, wait, you may be saying, well, what about Christians? Don't you want to be a church that reaches Christians? Well, I do want to be clear. The Christians that I want the church, the Christians that I want the River to reach, are the believers that God calls to be part of this church. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that God places the believers in the body of Christ where he wants them to be. So I don't go trying to get other Christians from other churches to come in and join our mission because they need to stay and help their church reach their mission. I want to reach people far from God who don't even know of the mission of Jesus Christ. However, God does call some believers to join in with that mission. And if God is calling you to do that, man, I welcome you with open arms. Probably have a conversation with your pastor that we're not trying to steal you. God's leading you here. But I want you to understand, we are not trying to grow the church by getting Christians from other churches to join us. Okay, we clear on that? I do indeed, though, want to reach Christians who have given up on church. Christians who feel far from God. A church for Christians who think church is irrelevant, boring, out of touch, and in a word, clueless. A church for Christians who do not like church. Now, I was a little naive when I became a pastor. I thought Christians went to church and sinners stayed home, just in a summary kind of nutshell kind of way. But what I found out over the last 20 years is there are a lot of Christians that don't go to church. And they are missing so much of what God has for them. So yes, I'm passionate about reaching Christians that have given up on church, Christians who have stopped going to church, Christians who have been hurt by church. Sure, absolutely, I want to be a church that reaches these Christians. But if you're asking me if I want the River to be a church that grows by taking people from other churches just to grow our church, the answer is profoundly and loudly no. I want the River to be a church where Christians can bring their unsaved friends and know they will be welcomed, respected, valued, and loved. That they will be in a safe place where they can hear the very dangerous, transformational message of Jesus Christ. The River is a church for Christians who want to reach people in their lives who are far from God. A church where the followers of Jesus know that the church exists for the people who have yet to become part of it. So often, the lost one, the unbeliever, has no voice inside the church, no advocate inside the church, no one saying, hey, what about me? Keep the doors open for me. I want the River to be a church for the rescued, saved, born-again believers, Christians who want unsaved, lost, pre-Christians in their lives to have a place they can come to faith in Jesus Christ. If you as a Christian want to come to church where it is all about you, you will never feel completely home at the River. All about your wants, all about your music, all about your agenda, all about your needs, all about your plans, unless reaching people that are far from God is the top priority of your list, you will always feel undervalued at the River. So, I want to just take a minute right as we wrap this up to share some of the transition plan and timeline for what we see happening. Now, when I talk about plans, I'm reminded of that humbling verse in Proverbs 19:21 that says, "Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand." And we have sensed that God's purpose is being accomplished here. And this is not some plan that Pastor Dean or Pastor Doug came up with on our own. It's not some rescue plan for us who's losing our building, or rescue plan for the Church of God in Lower Borough who's losing some people. It's not a rescue plan. We believe this is a designed plan from the Lord that He had in motion from the time before eternity began. And so we are moving into this plan humbly and yet confidently, looking forward to all the Lord wants to accomplish. And we will make some mid-course adjustments whenever we see that's not the plan God had, and we will adjust and autocorrect and do our best to seek and to save those who are lost. The first thing I want to invite you to do in this transition time is to pray. I want you to pray. I want you to pray for me and my leadership. I want you to pray for the River Church and the people there. I want you to pray for the Church of God in Lower Borough and the people here. I want you to pray for this community that we are moving into as the River, that you pray for them, that God will draw them to Him through the ministry of the River Church here on Chester Drive. I want to invite you to pray. I want you to pray for your friends, relatives, neighbors, co-workers that do not know Christ, that God will move in their heart, that they would come to church at your invitation, that they would be exposed to the gospel of Christ through your life and be drawn to Jesus Christ. Nothing of eternal significance is ever accomplished apart from prayer. So I want you to pray. Secondly, I want to let you know that we as the River are going to celebrate the first 19 years of the River Church on Sunday, September 10th. We have some great surprises in for you, some great guests that are going to be coming. We're going to have a great time, and I want to invite you to mark it on your calendars and come to the River New Kensington at 200 Freeport Road on Sunday, September 10th. For our 19-year celebration. The Church of God will be doing the same thing here at their service. They're holding their legacy service, their last service as the Church of God in Lower Borough. Over 100-year history. They're celebrating that on Sunday, September 10th here in their building. The third priority in our transition plan is to work with our project manager to oversee this entire opportunity of uniting together. And that's what's happening. Our two congregations are uniting together with one mission, one vision, to seek and to save those who are lost, to make disciples, baptize them, and to teach them. This is not Legally, it's called a merger, but this is not a merger of sorts. It's two churches coming together, uniting together. This is not a hostile takeover. This is not a church that has died that is being revived by another church. This is two ministries uniting together, just as the Allegheny River and the Monongahela River unite together at the confluence. There's a word I've never used in a sermon before. At the confluence in downtown Pittsburgh to form the mighty Ohio River. We are uniting together, and our project manager will help us by overseeing this entire opportunity. Now, the timeline, what does that look like? Well, that's a very in progress thing. Just kind of how we see it at a quick glance. On Sunday, September 17th, we will worship together. The Church of God in Lower Borough and the River, a community church of God located in New Kensington, will unite together and begin worshiping together at our current facility in New Kensington, 200 Freeport Road, New Kensington, Pennsylvania. We will unite together there and worship together there while we begin renovations on this building. We will unite together as one diverse group of believers, young and old, black and white, rich and poor, new believers, mature believers, and pre-believers. And then we will begin renovations on this property to create an irresistible environment to fulfill the vision that God has placed on our heart. You say, well, what are you going to do? What's all that work going to entail? Well, we will be unveiling that. One thing for certain is we're going to make the entire building handicap accessible. Downstairs, upstairs, bathrooms, the whole way around. But there's so much more that we're going to do to make this building an irresistible place for people to be drawn to Jesus Christ. And then we will move back into this space here on Chester Drive together when the work is done. And then together, we will reach into all of the 15068 zip code. New Kensington, Lower Borough, Arnold, Parnassus, Plum, Kiski, all of the regions, Upper Borough, all the regions that share the 15068 zip code. They are our focus. We will reach into the 15068 zip code and beyond with the transforming love and good news of Jesus Christ. Do you have a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a coworker you want to see saved? I want to invite you to write down their names and to begin to pray and then join us in reaching people far from God. Now, the final thing I want to say is that we will do all of this with love. And that starts immediately. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 begins in a very interesting way, and I'm going to paraphrase it and put it in our context. I want to say, if we grow a big church here and don't have love, we are nothing. If we maintain a beautiful property and don't have love, we are nothing. If we serve, give, and bless others, but don't have love, we gain nothing. We will do all of this in the deep, transforming love of Jesus Christ, following the new commandment that Jesus gave us in John 13:34 and 35, when he said, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." I love you. I thank you for being part of the Rivers online worship experience today. I want to invite you to come in person on Sunday, September 10th at our 9:15 or 10:30 service in New Kensington. And I can't wait to see all that God has in store as we unite together. Amen. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for joining in with us today.